Now, welcome to this edition of Reel to Reel. Track is a sport that is often overshadowed in our area high schools, but at West Catholic it's not hard to notice the track team. They've run up some impressive credentials over the years under the guidance of Coach Bill Ellis, and we'll meet Bill shortly. We'll also meet another interesting person, Stanley Hicks. If you remember, Stanley is the dulcimer-playing minstrel of Appalachia featured in our short segment last week. DABAR welcomes a newcomer, and our Person in the Pew series continues.
Coaching is always a demanding job, but it has many rewards as well. Bill Ellis, the West Catholic High School for Boys coach of track, knows all about the demands of the job. And as well, he and his track men know some of the rewards of success. The Penn Relays, the oldest relay carnival in the world, held each year at the University of Pennsylvania's Franklin Field. This carnival attracts some 14,000 participants in grade school, high school, college, and club levels from all across the United States. The Penn Relays are easily one of the most prestigious athletic events of any year. And there really is a carnival atmosphere to the relays. From fixing worn spikes on running shoes to the selling of new footwear, the hawking of T-shirts, pennants, assorted food items, one might forget for a moment what the main event of the relays really is. It is running. Finely tuned athletes striving to be first across the finish line. One local Catholic high school's mile relay team has crossed that finish line first an unprecedented 3 straight times. The team is from West Catholic, and they are coached by Bill Ellis, who has guided the track team to 2 Catholic League indoor championships besides their Penn Relay achievements since coming to West in 1974. Bill told us how he became involved with coaching and shared some of his views on track.
I started in grammar school with the little kids, and I just really got involved, you know. And plus the fact that I had 2 kids myself, and I really got them involved too. I really think that running track and really getting involved and practicing hard, it's really based on life, because it gives you that incentive as you grow older. It's something to look back on, especially if you continue going on to college. And working with this, it just really builds you up mentally and physically. Well, it really takes a skill, because for an athlete to really be good, he has to jog and take his exercise and stretch, and this is all part of track, because if he doesn't do this, he stands a chance to pull, and it doesn't warm up proper, so it means a lot. Well, basically, when I tell the kids when they come in, hey, we're all one. We're like a family, and because basically I move my kids around. Even Robert Poole himself, I move him from one event to the other. Now, I haven't been running him in too many individual events because he has to run on a team. Like, just take, for instance, Penn Relays. It's a team thing, and it makes a better individual. Special. I mean, he runs individual races, but as far as a relay, and it's a team thing. But I tell them, all the kids, they say, we are one family. We all have to stick together, work together. And when we warm up, we all warm up together, and we all take our exercise together. So even when a freshman comes in, I explain that to him, and it just blends in.
One person who has a lot to do with success at West this year is Robert Poole. Besides holding the school record in the 440 and 880-yard runs, he has run legs on the mile and 2-mile record-setting relay teams. Many observers name him as one of the premier high school runners on the East Coast, and he is surely one of the best ever to don a West Catholic jersey.
As far as running skills, Mr. Ellis helps me out, like, make sure that I get stronger. I'm trying to start doing over distance, but mainly I'm like a quicker distance man than most people are, so I do speed work, but I also do distance work. One thing I know that we driving crazy, like we sneak and throw water on him and stuff like that, and he doesn't get all upset where most coaches may get all upset and all like that, but we still treat him as, respect him like a father.
Pulse, 53 flat.
By 6 in the morning, Bill is already hard at work as a modified pickup man at the Camel Soup warehouse in Camden, New Jersey. Bill has been employed by Camels for 28 years. At the end of his workday at 2 p.m., he heads back across the river to West Catholic to his second job, that of coaching. Though he follows a hectic schedule, Bill is always thinking of his team, looking for ways to help them improve. Assistant coach Jesse Burdell tells us more.
It's always looking for more things to do with them, more meets to go to, which some coaches don't. Some coaches just let the kids run in their school meets and that's it. But he does look for meets out of the city to take them to, which gives them more exposure, some more competition to compete against, which helps them, helps us.
Ed Butler holds the school record in the triple jump and hurdles, but this year he has also become a valuable member of the mile relay team.
Come on, baby, breathe in there, breathe in!
Watch out, Jeff.
Now,
I can remember when it was indoor season, we were running a mile relay, and one of our quartermen, Bernard Waffle, pulled a muscle in his leg. We had to find another quarter miler. And at that time, we had Bernard Davis, Robert Poole, and Fred MacGyver running. And he came to me, and he said, Ed, I think you have to run the quarter. And I looked at him like shell shocked. I said, my God, I never ran a quarter before in my life. The day that we ran at the Civic Center, it all came to me what he was saying. He said, if I really put it in my head to do my best, that I could do my best. And I went out there and did my best, and we did okay that day. Came home with trophies, and I was really happy with myself, really.
Is there something unique about teaching at West Catholic and coaching at West?
I think it's something about the school, West Catholic. You know, West Catholic is the winningest team in the 20th century. You know, it's like tradition. It's almost like the New York Yankees and the Boston Celtics. That tradition. And when you put a West Catholic jersey on, it just makes all the difference in the world. And I really believe that.
In these days of scandals in sports, escalating salaries of players, and a dwindling supply of sports heroes, it's encouraging to know there are still men around like Bill Ellis who typify the word coach. At West Catholic, Bill Ellis is a hero.
We visited churches in Maryland and Virginia and asked this question: if you could give a homily, what topic would you talk about?
I guess the poor. I'm a social worker, and I have to see people every day that are not able to eat in Montgomery County, and a lot of people don't believe it.
Oh, I think it's the value systems that we find in our country today, the value systems of family life, the crisis that the church is going through. I think people are terribly concerned about those issues, the values, the day-to-day values of raising children, paying one's mortgage, making a living, trying to be kind to our co-workers.
I think a better relationship between mankind of all races.
Well, you know, drugs, premarital sex, those kind of issues.
Probably family togetherness. I think in today that everything's gotten away from the family.
A homily, well, probably mine would be on child care and also on the abortion issue, which is very uppermost in my mind, because I think it represents a decline in our value of human life throughout the entire country, and also the idea of a single parent leading a home.
I think I would really like to keep on what the scripture message had been. And I'd like to apply that to everyday circumstances, to issues that are really real to people.
Why people my age don't attend Mass, aren't involved in the church? I look around and they're just not there.
The U.S. Capitol behind me is a place where great decisions are made. But even greater decisions must be made by each of us as we stand at the foot of this cross. Hello, My name is Dr. Kent Hoffman, and I am both a psychologist and an ordained minister. And I believe that the crucial issue of our time has to do with nuclear war. Now, we are afraid, and we have every right to be afraid. We're afraid of the Soviet Union, and they're afraid of us. We're afraid to give up our nuclear weapons. And we're just as afraid that if we continue to build them, we will eventually use them at the cost of hundreds of millions of lives. But what do we do with this fear? As a people of God, we are called upon to make that difficult transition from fear to faith, from terror to trust in God alone. And these are difficult words for us to hear, just as they were for Abraham and for Moses, for Mary and Jesus. Scripture tells us that under every circumstance of our lives, we are called upon to give the full weight of our lives to God. Miracles do happen, but only in the context of faith, never in the context of fear. This is a call to faith. It is, in fact, a call to prayer. I believe that if we can join together with people like us throughout the world and pray each day as though our very lives depend upon it, then God can work through us, and through us save us from our own destruction.
In an age of throwaway bottles and disposable paper plates, some people are recycling materials beautifully. Such is the case at the art studio sponsored by the Society of Mary in Kirkwood, Missouri. That's also the case for its most prolific artist, Brother Mel Meyers. Mel's been working full-time as an artist for the past 11 years, and although many of his creations are fashioned from Texas limestone, others are made from recycled scraps. Discarded artillery shell casings, nuts and bolts, and sheet steel from old stoves and refrigerators. Mel uses whatever he gets his hands on to create beauty. There's a sculpture garden surrounding the studio, a converted 100-year-old house that displays some finished pieces. A walk through the workroom shows other creations still taking shape under the blowtorch. But the 5,000 square foot gallery adjoining the studio shows even more. 80% of the metalwork, paintings, ceramics, woodwork was designed and or executed by Mel. But even the gallery only gives a glimpse of Mel's main work. He and his staff of 3 design and renovate spaces for worship. Take, for example, a chapel in Puerto Rico, before Mel and his crew, and after.
You can take anything and make something very aesthetic and profound with it. To me, a worship space really should help us pray better. In other words, it's like nature, life, making us appreciate the Creator more. So I would hope that the way we go about it, the things we put into what we make, would somehow help spiritually lift the people who pray within these spaces.
And if beauty is in the eye of the beholder, Mel has the gift of seeing it where most people least expect to find it, and the ability to share his insights with those around him.
The dulcimer is one of the oldest and prettiest sounding instruments. The homemade dulcimer played by Stanley Hicks seems suitable for him, for both he and his instrument are unique and refreshing.
This story is not about a great theologian, an evangelist, or someone who works with people, or who needs their help. It's about a man.
One in a rock, one in a hole, one in a rock, one in a hole. Good God Almighty, what a big print hole, ground hole.
His name is Stanley Hicks, and he and his family have lived here in Watauga County, North Carolina since 1772. That's 4 generations.
Groundhog with a fish.
Stanley and his wife Virgie live on top of a mountain just about on the border between Tennessee and North Carolina, on the Carolina side. They stay alone in their little white house on about 70 acres of high rolling fields and forest, some of which Stanley still farms. Groundhogs beware. Stanley says Virgie is faring poorly these days, and when the cold wind rips down these high slopes, she stays in near the wood stove. But he is a man at home in the outdoors, on the land, and it doesn't take much to get him out on a walk.
Out here in the mountains, you can do what you want to, and in the city you can't. They've got too much things that you have to do and go by. You can't even build your chicken house. You can't even build your dog house or nothing. And that's much better, you know.
Stanley's way of speaking may be difficult to understand at times, but when you listen, it's what he's saying that has value. He's very sure of a lot of things.
A good Christian life and be ready to leave here is the most important thing we've got. That's the most important thing. And a lot of, now back when I growed up, people helped one another out. And now then, they don't care for you. The bigger majority. They're looking for themselves. You know, looking out for what they can get and all, they don't care for you. But back when I growed up, if anybody got sick, everybody went in and helped them. They got a house burnt up, they went in and built it.
There is a tone in his voice, a yearning for old ways and values in Stanley that makes you want it all to be as he says it used to be. He feels at once on the outside of modern society and at the same time glad to be there. For in his world, there are certain immutable truths, and he is happy to reaffirm them.
Our land and the country is more important than anything we have, to me. I don't know how it would be to a lot, but it would be more important to me than anything I have. It would be a piece of land.
Faith, family, the land. These are Stanley's priorities. It's a full-time job staying on top of all of that. His wife is ill. He's the head of the family. The land is constantly demanding his attention. And sometimes you have to work so hard for so little. He still has to work hard to make ends meet at 70. What all these years did yield was an immense treasure of lore and knowledge of how his mountain world works. His walk is a litany of familiar names, of recognition of his friends.
And that's a hemlock in yonder. And right there's a cucumber tree. And this is what we make sure grows out there. If you got a bad stomach, make sure. It's pretty good if you boys want to try a little taste of it. Scrape all a little for you.
Stanley's chief concern this past winter has been his wife. She has a progressive nervous disorder that was not helped by the cold. But she won't leave, and Stanley wouldn't hear of it anyway.
Well, as long as I can take care of her, and we can take care of her here, that's where I want her to stay. I told her I'll go as long as I can go. And I told her when I got where I couldn't go, just call Undertaker stuff. Some shit. This is God's country. And it's more, if you'll notice it and read about these things in the Bible and stuff, the higher the mountains is more of God's country. According to all of the reading and stuff I've looked at. The higher because you went up on the mountain, you know. And the higher the mountain, it's just like I told the fellows here, it's God's country, and it's more of God's country now in the mountains than it is in the cities.
Stanley is also a musician, makes his own instruments too, dulcimers and banjos from a design his grandfather gave him. This part of his work is his pride.
Come on in, boys, and I'll show you my shop where I work at in here. Music is the best thing that you can get if you get kind of beat out of anything, you know, and get kind of just out while you can get that, and it just relaxes you somehow. I don't know how. I can get my old banjo dulcimer when I get up in the shop up there and go to playing on it, and everything blows away, you know. Ain't nothing that bothers.
Stanley makes dulcimers to sell. It all helps, but he plainly prefers to play. Once you get into his trophy room up over the shop, you finally get a real feel for the man and his music, his stories and his humor. Come to find out, he's even made an album. No big deal, just did it, that's all. But it did mean a lot.
Now, we pass away here and gone, but what you've done behind you, it'll live on. My stuff, it'll live on later I'm gone. People will see it, you know, and they'll have it. Well, something like that is worth something, but if you never leave nothing behind, if you don't never leave nothing behind, you ain't done nothing. The way I look at it. Here's one old muskrat and the gray mule and all of it. It's everything's mixed in together, but it's a song.
The hills and woodlands of Appalachia are a little bit brighter because of Stanley Hicks. His belief in God and in natural ways is a lyrical complement to his dulcimer playing.
Many of us often dismiss blind persons as seeming lost, but next week we'll meet a man who dispels that attitude. He is Bill Rader, director of the National Braille Press, himself blind and physically handicapped. And in Trenton, New Jersey, Father Brian McCormick will show us how volunteer carpenters, electricians, and masons restore inner-city houses.
We welcome your comments and suggestions, so if you have any, please write to us at Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, Philadelphia 19103. Thanks for watching. We'll look forward to seeing you again next week. Goodbye.